This is a tutorial video on how to properly submit your timesheet and expense reports for Unisys Technical Services. Let's get started. Here's some important points to remember. Your work week starts from the Sunday of any given week until the Saturday of any given week. Next is your timesheet must be submitted at the end of your work week before you close your extend call. Next is you're authorized to claim 20 minutes of 26 admin time to do your timesheet, which will be reported on your extend call. Next is if you have time off and, for example, your work week ends on Wednesday because you have Thursday and Friday off, then your timesheet must be submitted on Wednesday in this example, as that is the final working day of your week. And last and most important is that there is zero tolerance for timesheets not being submitted as required on the final working day of the week. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the web links that you're going to need. We'll go over these quickly as these are going to all be listed in the description portion of this YouTube video. So that way you can save these to your favorites, which is highly recommended. And also you're going to want to save your usernames and passwords when you go to these links so that you can easily log in when you're doing your timesheet at the end of the work week. First is the form, which is used to input totals of time and mileage, and also to explain and reconcile any errors that may have occurred with data entry. And next is SRMSMobile, which records your hours and mileage that you inputted for the work week. Next is RUNZHEIMER, which is the data for the captured mileage that you drove for the week. Next is PRelay. This is to input your expenses and mileage for the week. Next is PINNACLE, which you also input your expenses and mileage in this, as well as your time worked for the week. Now let's get started on the timesheet. I already opened up all the links that you're going to need for the timesheet here for time's sake, and the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into SRMSMobile. You're going to want to log in, and you're going to want to examine the totals of all the mileage and time that you inputted for all your calls during the work week. And to do that, you log in, you confirm that it's on FECSE, hit the drop down, and you're going to want to go to total. Okay, and then you click OK. And here it's going to show you your total times and your total hours worked and your total mileage that you inputted into SRMSMobile during your work week. Now let's look over here. Now number 1 is going to be Sunday, 2 Monday, 3 Tuesday, 4 Wednesday, 5 Thursday, 6 Friday, and 7 Saturday. The T is your travel time, which is the time you spent driving in between calls, and that's right here. And the A is your activity time, which is your tech time, time you spent working on any given machine. And right down here is your total mileage for the week that you inputted into SRMSMobile. Now, the CURTOT, which is current total, is the mileage that you inputted for the current week. And the total of that is right here, D for distance. And the PRVTOT is the previous total, so this is the mileage that was driven for the previous week. And you can find that right here. In addition to that, you can also see the total of your current hours that you inputted right down here. T is the total time, the total travel time during your work week. And the A is your total activity time right down here for your work week. And below that, of course, is the previous totals of the time, the travel time, and the activity time for the previous week. Now, it's crucial to confirm that all these totals are correct, as if there's an error, there is a way to reconcile it through the form. So you want to confirm that all these totals are correct, and if they are, then you're all set and good to go. And if not, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the form and the way to reconcile those errors if you do discover them. Let's start filling out the form, and we'll go ahead and give some examples of some situations you may run into and where to enter that data. First, it asks for the week ending date, and this of course is the Saturday of your work week. In my example, the Saturday of my work week is going to be August 13th, so I'm going to select that, and we're going to go ahead and input your last name and input your first name, Now, the total SRMS mobile time is the addition of the current totals on your travel time for the week, current total and your travel time. And here I have 10.4, and the current total of your activity time, which is 14.3, added together. So in my case, now again, you want to confirm that these totals are correct. And if they aren't, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to be able to report that in the form, which is the main reason for this form, to reconcile and correct any errors that may have occurred in your data entry. So in my example here, the total travel time and activity time for me is going to be 10.4 plus 14.3, and that would be 24.7. And we're going to put that into the total SRMS mobile time, 24.7. And here you can even see below, it says this is your SRMS mobile travel time plus your activity time. Now next, we'll look at furlough. Now, if you don't have any entries or anything to report in any given section of the form, you're just going to want to go ahead and put 0. Now, if you're training, what you're going to want to do is keep track of the training time that you have. And of course, this time will not be able to be reported in SRMS Mobile. So here is where the form comes into play, and here is where you can report the time that you weren't able to input into SRMS Mobile. Now, say for example, you trained 15 hours with your trainer during the work week, and you weren't able to obviously put that into SRMS Mobile. You can input that right here. So for an example, we'll put that we trained 15 hours this week, and we're going to leave that here. Now, if you have any Dell certifications, this would be where you can report that, and none were done this week, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. And here, this is project time, and we had no project time, so we're going to put 0 there. And here we're going to put 0 because we had no non-SRMS mobile time. Next, PTO, we're going to put 0. We had none of that. Nothing for holiday. Jury duty, no. No other non-SRMS mobile time. And here, if you remember, we do have non-SRMS mobile time because this is the time that we spent training this week for 15 hours that we weren't able to put into SRMS Mobile. So that's going to go right here. Now say that you trained for half a week, and the last half of the week you actually were doing service calls and reporting time into MFFA. You can go ahead and submit that up into the total SRMS mobile time, which say for example that could be 15, and you're going to go ahead and put that in here, that for the 15 hours that you were able to actually put in SRMS mobile to report the time and mileage into SRMS mobile. Now, being we have 15 hours that we were reporting in SRMS mobile and 15 hours in this example that we weren't able to report in SRMS mobile and the non-SRMS mobile time, we're going to want to add those two figures. We're going to want to add the total SRMS mobile time that we were able to input in there. We're going to add the non-SRMS mobile time, which is the time we spent new hire training. And the addition to that goes right into here, which is the total SRMS mobile time plus the total non-SRMS mobile time that you weren't able to add into SRMS mobile. And the addition of that in this example is going to be 30. And now for the total time, what this is asking what is the total time that you're actually going to be claiming on your timesheet when all is said and done. And as long as everything adds up and you confirm and reconcile any errors that you may have made, then you go ahead and input that number. And say it does add to the actual hours that you're going to be getting compensated for. We're going to put that in there. Now say there was some issue in where you had an error where maybe you misreported on your SRMS mobile time. Say you accidentally underreported the time you worked by 5 hours for that week just because of a data entry error. then what you would do is you would actually put that you are claiming 35 hours, but then when it asks when you does your total SRMS mobile time plus non-SRMS mobile time equal the total time you're actually going to be reporting on your timesheet, you could put no, and you can put that there was 5 hours that I actually worked but weren't able to be inputted into SRMS mobile. And then of course you're going to want to go ahead and be specific on the error that may have occurred and why there's a discrepancy between what you inputted into SRMS Mobile versus what actually happened. You're also going to want to provide maybe some documentation, if needed, about the issue that may have occurred, and and maybe why that those 5 hours weren't able to be inputted into SRMS Mobile and what happened. So now, in the event that you over-reported the time in SRMS Mobile than what you actually worked, so for instance, say that in SRMS Mobile there was 20 hours that you did input and you actually only worked 15 hours, you still would add these two figures, the total SRMS mobile time and the new hire training time, which is non-SRMS mobile time. They weren't able to input in SRMS mobile. Now these would equal 35. However, you really only worked 30 hours that week, but there was a data entry error that you made in SRMS mobile. Now, in this case, you would also want to document and record the reason why you made that error. And you might say something along the lines of accidentally reported 5 hours on one of my service calls on such and such date, or whatever error that you accidentally made, or whatever data entry error that you accidentally had in SRMS Mobile. That would go right here and put the description of what exactly happened and be detailed. And then also you want to provide an explanation of how you can maybe prevent making any data entry errors in the future. Next, we can look at the SRMS mobile miles that you inputted into SRMS for the given work week. And in my example, it would be the current total. Again, the current total is for your current week. That'd be 232. So we're going to want to go ahead and input that number here. Now, if we look at total non-SRMS mobile miles, this is the amount of mileage that you weren't able to input in SRMS mobile. Maybe if you had some different tasks to do with your trainer, mileage, say you were following him for whatever reason, or just whatever mileage you weren't able to actually input in SRMS mobile, that goes here. So say there was 50 miles where you were following your trainer, so you would put that right here. Now guys, just one interjection here. You can't just assume that whatever data that you're inputted into SRMS mobile is correct, or the mileage or the time or anything. You always have to check and confirm your records are correct before just adding all this information into the form and into your timesheet. Just very important to remember that. Now I can't. I'm going to go ahead and put this point up on the screen here because I can't stress enough that it's very important just to not assume that the total time and mileage that you inputted into SRMS Mobile is correct. Always check your records and confirm before submitting the final data on your timesheet. This is a very important point, and just please make note of this. Okay, so let's jump back into the mileage portion of the form here. So now that we've entered our total SRMS mobile miles here, and you provide an example if you weren't able to enter miles into SRMS mobile, so we're just going to delete that for now. So now next it's asking for the total RUNZHEIMER miles, and you can find these by logging into RUNZHEIMER, of course. And I have everything pre-filled here. I'm going to log in. Okay, now we're logged into RUNZHEIMER here, and as we can see, everything is here. Now the log mileage shows the mileage that you drove for the current time period, and this is the mileage that I submitted for last week. Now you can go ahead and click on the month and go into all of the trips that you completed for the any given week and that were recorded into RUNZHEIMER. And as you can see, they're all here. Now, if you go onto your mobile device and look at all the trips that you completed for the week, you can add all those up and confirm what your actual mileage that you drove for that given week was. And of course, that should or needs to equal the amount of mileage that you actually inputted in SRMSMobile. And if it's off by more than, say, 3 miles between what you inputted in SRMSMobile versus what was reported in RUNZHEIMER that you actually drove, then that, of course, is where the form comes into play, that you can go ahead and identify that error and explain maybe what happened and what kind of data entry error you made. Now, guys, the form is will help you tremendously with any errors that you make on your timesheet reporting in SRMSMobile, the hours that you report in SRMSMobile, and the mileage that you report in SRMSMobile. If you made any errors there, that's what the form is for. Now, as I mentioned, you may add the total miles that you find in your RUNZHEIMER mobile application for the given week to determine what you actually drove and compare them to what you input in SRMSMobile. Another way to do it is you can actually subtract the private mileage here from the log mileage, and this will give you your weekly total of the mileage that was captured in RUNZHEIMER. Now let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to take 488 from the private mileage, and I'm going to minus that from the log mileage, and that equals 231 for me. Now, if you remember, if we go back in SRMSMobile, I inputted that I drove 232 miles for that week, for this week, and that is only off by one. So let's go ahead and put that we have 231 miles in RUNZHEIMER, and we're always going to claim the RUNZHEIMER miles to get reimbursed for, because those are the actual miles that you drove. So now we have that I inputted 232 miles into SRMSMobile, and RUNZHEIMER says that I have 231 miles, which was the 48 minus 257. And now, if you look, guys, if you look at this form, everything's very self-explanatory. If you just read the title and you read the description of what you're supposed to put for this entry, everything makes a lot of sense if you just actually read it. So back to this. Now the miles that I input in SRMSMobile are only off by one from what was recorded in RUNZHEIMER. So I'm actually just going to put no, that these mileages do not equal the actual mileage that I'm going to be getting paid for, because it's off by one. So I'm just going to put, this is very typical that this happens, but again, if it's off by, say, more than 3 miles, then you have to identify where you made the error and then report it here in these fields. So I'm going to put 1 mile rounding error, since that is the reason that this occurred, because there's always a little bit of a rounding issue between what's captured versus what it actually is. So that's how you do that. Okay, and as you can see, that concludes the data that you have to input into the form, but we're not going to submit this yet. Actually, this is going to be, the form is going to be the last thing that you submit. So we're just going to leave this open, and now we're going to go ahead and jump into how to actually input the data into P-Relay and to ERP, which is the two web links that you need to input your data into from your time for your timesheet. Now we're going to keep our SRMS mobile total times and total mileage handy, because we're going to need that as we fill out this timesheet here. Now, if you squared everything away in confirming that the reporting of your SRMS mobile miles versus what was in RUNZHEIMER is accurate, or if it's off by less than 3, and you explained that it was a rounding error, or if it's off by more than 3, you explained what happened. As long as you have everything squared away with that, you can go ahead and submit your RUNZHEIMER report, which is very important. This has to be submitted, guys, every week after you confirm everything's accurate and everything you inputted into into your P relay and your Pinnacle is accurate. So the way to submit the RUNZHEIMER form the RUNZHEIMER report is just by clicking on the current month you're in, and you can go in there. You can actually check all your trips right here. All you're going to want to do is up here hit submit for processing, and then you get a little confirmation page, and you can go back to the home and confirm that everything's been submitted. If we're going to go back to the home here, just waiting on that, we can confirm that's been submitted if the all these totals are the same. So if you look down here, this was submitted, so we have all the totals that are the same. And this would say 488 for log and 488 for submitted mileage, so you know that the RUNZHEIMER report has been submitted. So now that squares away RUNZHEIMER, and we're done with that. So now we're going to jump into Pinnacle and P relay, and this is the final 2 steps to input the data into Pinnacle and P relay to complete your timesheet. Okay, now let's jump into the data entry into Pinnacle and P relay. So I'm going to have my SRMSMobile information handy here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this down so that way I can see this nicely. Okay, so here we have all our SRMSMobile times we inputted for the week and the mileage we inputted for the week. So we have all that very visible, and we're going to go ahead and log into Pinnacle. I have all my information pre-filled in there, which is recommended, as I said, for ease of access. So now we logged into Pinnacle, and let's just go ahead and log into P relay, get that going. Okay, so once you log into Pinnacle, you're going to notice that we have an available timesheet that we're able to fill out here, and you want to confirm that these dates are correct. And again, your work week starts from the Sunday of any given week until the Saturday of any given week. So as you can see on this current week here, we have August 7th to 13th, so we know we're working on the correct timesheet. So we're going to want to just click on that to access the timesheet so we can input the data. So up comes all this information here, and we have all our available windows to add our time. So let's start. To add our time worked on Monday, and again, guys, this is after you confirm that all your data is absolutely correct, that you input it into SRMSMobile. And so let's start with Monday. So we're going to add the total activity time, the A, with the T, which is the travel time, and we're going to add these together to determine how many hours we actually worked on Monday. And in my case, it's 3.0 plus 2.1, which is 5.1. And we're going to input that in here. And to add it, we're going to just click add. It's very straightforward, and then it's going to populate up here to show your total hours here. Now we're going to go to Tuesday, and we're going to add 3.2 plus 2.1, which is going to equal 5.3. And as you're adding the hours, it'll update up here to reflect the total hours that you inputted so far. So we have 5.3. We're going to click add on that. Now, guys, every 0.1 is 6 minutes. So 5.3 is going to equal 5 hours and 18 minutes, as you can see. And we had 5.1 hours on Monday, so that's going to equal 5 hours and 6 minutes, okay? So now we're going to go to Wednesday, and we're going to add 3.5 to 3.0, which is going to be 6.5, which is 6 hours, 30 minutes. So we're going to add that. It's going to populate up here and keep adding. And now we're going to go to Thursday, and we're going to add 4.6 plus 3.3, and that's going to be 7.9. Now, normally, in a full work week, you're going to work Monday through Friday. So I have no time that I was able to input on Friday because I'm working on this very project that you're viewing right now. So if you want to use that as an example, we would be putting that on the form as Let's go ahead and take a look here into other non-SRMS mobile that was approved by management. So say I worked 8 hours creating this video, I would put that here, and then of course these totals would change, and I would add my non-SRMS mobile time, which would be 8 in this case, to my SRMS mobile time, which was the time that I was able to input in SRMS mobile, which was 24.7. So in my case, 24.7, which was input into SRMS mobile, plus 8, working on the video here, the project, would be 32.7. You see how it works? It's very straightforward. Okay, so let's go back to Pinnacle here. So now we have all our hours and we confirmed everything's accurate and everything totals up properly. Okay, so in my case, I'm inputting and claiming 24.8 hours here. As you can see, 24 hours, 48 minutes. So on the form, we'll confirm that. Now, if you remember, the addition of my activity time, my travel time in SRMS Mobile was 24.7. So there is a little bit of a rounding error, which you'll run into. Probably 0.1, 0.2 of a discrepancy between the SRMS mobile time versus what ends up adding up into Pinnacle. So all you do in this instance would be, we have our total SRMS mobile time, which was 14.3 plus 10.4, so that's 24.7 total SRMS mobile plus non-SRMS mobile time. Now the total time in ERP since the rounding error occurred would be 24.8. So we're just going to want to go ahead and put that we're actually claiming 24.8 hours in Pinnacle. So these, of course, don't equal, just because that little rounding error, which is going to be very common. So all you'd have to do is put 0.1 rounding error, or you can actually put 0.1 hours rounding error, which is very typical. I believe almost every week this occurs. So just take note of that. So you just want to confirm everything's proper on the form versus what you're actually inputting into Pinnacle. So now that we have all our hours squared away and confirmed everything's accurate and inputted properly on the form, we're going to go ahead and jump into our expenses. Okay, guys, now for mileage, you are going to be able to claim 51 cents a mile for the first 225 miles, and anything after that, anything over 225, you're going to be claiming 20 cents a mile. So let's keep that in mind and get started here. So let's go for Monday. Distance here was 31 miles, so we're going to just click Add Expense. Now this is how you do it. You go 31 miles, the @ sign, 0.51. And what you're going to want to do in Pinnacle is you're going to want to put the dollar amount you're getting reimbursed. So you're going to want to times 31 by 51, which is going to equal 1581. Okay, and then very logical here, you're going to select what it was for. Okay, we're going to hit the drop down and go mileage. Click Add. Let's go on to Tuesday. So repeat, 47 miles on Tuesday. So we're going to go 47 miles at 51. And 47 times 51 cents is going to be 23.97. I'm going to select that it was for mileage. Click Add. We'll go to Wednesday. And Wednesday we add 83 miles. So we're going to go 83 miles at 51. We're going to go 83 times 51, and that's going to be 42.33. We're going to hit the drop down, click mileage, click Add. Now keep in mind we are claiming the amount of miles that were captured in RUNZHEIMER, which was, if you remember, 231. That was in RUNZHEIMER, and we're going to want to claim only 70 miles on Thursday, because 31 plus 47 plus 83 plus 71, or I'm sorry, plus 70 equals 231. Now keep in mind that, as I mentioned, the first 225 miles are reimbursed at 51 cents a mile, and anything over 225 is reimbursed at 20 cents a mile. So we're going to have to confirm all these add up to 225. And right now, Monday through Wednesday, we're at 161. So if we are at 161, we're going to need 64 more miles at 51. We're going to take 64 from 70 on Thursday, and we're going to go 64 miles at 51, because now 31 plus 47 plus 83 plus 64 is going to equal our 225, you see. Now we're going to go 64 times 51, and that's going to be 3264. Hit the drop down, hit mileage, click add. And now the remaining miles on Thursday is going to be 6, because remember we're claiming 231 because that's what was reported in RUNZHEIMER. Now we're going to click add again to add our additional 6 miles that are only going to be able to be reimbursed at 20 cents a mile since we went over 225, you see. So now we're going to go 6 miles at 20, and that is going to equal 6 times 20 cents is $1.20. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing, click mileage and click add. And now we're all set. And now if you add 31, 47, 83, 64, this will be 225 reimbursed at 51 cents. And then now we have our additional 6 miles since it was over 225. We were over by 6 miles over 225, claiming 231. We got reimbursed at 20 cents for that. So that is it for Pinnacle. Now what we're going to want to do is simply copy this data, the mileage data, and input that in a P relay, and we're home free. Now let's just do an example. If you incur a receipt, like a parking receipt, you're going to always also want to add that into Pinnacle. And let's just give an example here. Say on Monday I had a $2 parking receipt. Now guys, one thing to keep in mind about parking receipts is that anything over $3 or $3 or more needs to be sent to your manager. A picture of the receipt and the call number was for. It needs to be sent to the manager, which is easily done through the UTS templates, pre-filled templates, and your trainer can explain how to do that. And keep in mind, that's very important to have those receipts $3 and over submitted to the manager, otherwise they won't be able to be reimbursed. So for example's sake, let's go ahead and say that we incurred a $2 parking expense on Monday. So in order to report that parking receipt, we're going to click add expense. We're going to go ahead and put parking for, and then your call number, SRMS number, just say 1234567. The amount the parking receipt was for, $2, and you just hit the drop down and select parking. Very logical. Okay, so now we got our $2 parking receipt. We got what call number is for. This is a very important thing to mention, that you need to put what call number the parking receipt was for, so management knows, you know, what call you incurred the parking expense on. Okay, so we have that input in there. We're going to click add. Okay, now we got that. We're just going to wait for that to populate. And again, guys, all the totals will show up here as you input them. Okay, so now we have all that information here. Now again, we're just going to simply copy more or less this data from Pinnacle to P Relay, and let's get started on that. Okay, I already logged into P Relay here. Now when you log into P Relay, the only thing you're going to want to click on in P Relay, you don't worry about timesheets, you don't do anything with that in P Relay. All you're going to do is click on expense reports. Okay, now it's going to launch that, and as you can see, all my prior expense reports are listed here. And what you're going to want to do after you click on expense reports is click create to create a new expense report. Okay, I'm going to let that load. Okay, and again, your work week starts on the Sunday of any given week. So in my case, it would be August 7th, Sunday, and it ends on the Saturday of any given week, which in my case would be August 13th. Okay, so we have that input in there properly. Now in the project, this information is listed in the description box of this YouTube video. In the project, you're going to put 49758. In the task, I'm going to put 0001. Okay. Now, what I usually do is I always add more rows, even though I may not need them, because you want a lot of space to work and input all the data that you need. So you just want to click on add more rows and let that load there. Okay. So we have that everything here. Okay, great. So let's get started inputting the data, our expenses data and our mileage data into P Relay. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the calendar here, and you're going to want to select the date that you want to put. So we'll go Monday, August 8th. Now we can just go back. I mean, you can simply go back to Pinnacle ERP and copy and paste the data. So we're going to want to copy the mileage data from Monday, which was again 31 miles at 51 cents. So let's go back here, and now you just put the exact same info, 31 miles at 51 cents. Now, the only difference here on how the amount is captured or recorded, I should say, is when you hit the drop down here, you're going to want to select mileage, very logical. And then it's very simple. You just put the mileage you drove, which was 31, and then the rate you're being reimbursed, and you click OK, and it automatically inputs the amount in here. It makes it very easy. So let's go ahead and go to Tuesday, which would be the 9th. We're going to go 47 miles at 51. We can, again, we can just copy and paste that from Pinnacle, but I'll just manually input it for now. And we're going to hit the drop down, go to mileage, 47 miles, 47, and then rate 51. Okay, and then it automatically inputs the amount here. Now we're going to go to the 10th. We're going to go to Wednesday, and that would be 83. Okay, 83 miles at 51. Hit the drop down, mileage 83, 51. Okay, now Thursday we had, again, remember it has to total 220. The first 225 is 51 cents a mile, and anything over 225 is 20 cents. So on Thursday, if you remember, we did 64 miles because this 31 on Monday, the 47 on Tuesday, the 83 on Wednesday, and now 64 on Thursday is going to total 225. So we're going to go 64 miles at 51. Hit the drop down, go to mileage, go 64, 51. Okay. And now we need to claim the rest of our miles, which is 231 in total. And we're going to take there's going to be 6 more miles from our Thursday mileage. But since that's over 225, that's going to be reimbursed at 20 cents. So we're going to go hit the calendar again, and then we're going to do another entry for Thursday, but this time it's going to be 6 miles at 20. Okay, same concept. So hit the drop down, hit travel mileage, 6 miles at 20. Okay, great. So now we got 31 plus 47 plus 83 plus 64. So that's 225 right here at 51. We're all set. And then we have our 6, since it's over 225 at 20 cents. And now we're at 231. We're dead on. Perfect. So now let's just go ahead and add our receipt into P-Relay. And we can just copy that. Simply copy that here. Okay, and go back to P-Relay, and then we're going to put that our receipt. If we, in this example that we had, we received that parking receipt on Monday. Okay, so in P-Relay we're going to hit the calendar and select Monday. Okay, I'm sorry. Change that. We're going to put a new entry for the parking receipt and hit Monday for the receipt. And then in here, very simple, we're going to put parking for SRMS number, and then whatever call number it was. So we have that in here. Okay. Now, very logically, hit the drop down and select parking. And then all you have to do is just put the amount, the dollar amount, as you can see, that the parking expense was for. Okay. So now we have everything in here, and the total reimbursement is going to be $117.95. Let's confirm that matches our entries in Pinnacle ERP, and that does, $117.95. So guys, that is it. Let's go ahead and you can double check all your data, and everything looks good for me. Everything looks good here for the expenses and for the time, so everything's all set. And right now, again, we did not submit the form because that is the last thing you want to do. So we still have that open. We have now confirmed that all our miles, our time, and expenses have been properly entered. And I'm not going to go ahead and hit submit now because I still have some more work to do myself. But normally, when you confirm everything's accurate, you just hit submit, and there's going to be a confirmation prompt in Pinnacle, and just click OK, and that will submit your Pinnacle timesheet. And that's it for Pinnacle. And if you want to go ahead and check your past timesheets, all you'd have to do is log into the Pinnacle screen, and you can just click this box here that says show past timesheets. Then you can see your prior timesheets and the data that you inputted. So that would take care of Pinnacle. We submit that. Okay. Now you're on to P Relay, and we confirm everything's accurate, and then you just hit submit here. And again, I'm not going to do that since I have more data to enter. And you just hit submit here, and that would go ahead and submit that for P Relay, and you're all set with that. And with P Relay, if you want to look at your past timesheets, you can just go to the main screen, click on expense reports, and again, they're all right here listed for you. If you want to just click on them, you can go ahead and see all the information that you put in there. So then you submit that, and then you're all set with that. And then last but not least, you're going to submit the form, and you confirm everything's accurate on the form and that you have all your explanations for any discrepancies that may have occurred. And that would be submitted down at the bottom here. And don't forget to submit the form. It's one of the most important parts about your timesheet, and got to make sure that you do that, and that's the last thing you do. So when you click submit, you will be completely and fully done with your timesheet. And that concludes this video presentation. Now guys, if you have any questions, concerns, any maybe other situations you run into that are not typical or out of the ordinary, you can also feel free to contact the manager or your trainer, and they'd be more than happy to help you. But this video presentation should give you a very good idea of the basics on how to submit a timesheet for Unisys Technical Services. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. And that concludes our video session.